Hello and welcome to AYV 117 AYV Vision, Channel 33, and on DST Channel 99. My name is Mama, and we're live from a studio right here in London. This is Civilian Decide. Civilian 2023 election will be based on proportional rotation PR system. This is according to Electoral Commissioner of the Election for Sierra Leone, CSL, Mohamed Kone, who said the system is in accordance with Section 3A of 91 Constitution of Sierra Leone. When Syrians go to the polls in June 23, it will be the contrast 15 multi-party election 2002. While elections since 2002 have been fair, they have been accompanied by some challenges. The upcoming 2023 elections, general election, will provide an opportunity to the upcoming 2023 general election provide an opportunity to address the electoral system with a fundamental purpose to deliver free and fair elections. But what is the role of international community, diaspora, foreign governments, elections observers? Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio attended the Africa-US Leaders. The White House published a statement which President and 5 other leaders have reaffirmed that to hold free, fair, and transparent elections conducted by competent, independent, and impartial national electoral bodies enshrined in Africa Charter election governance. Together, leaders discussed the choice of holding elections and exercising the votes in foreign interference and violence, and best practices how to manage these and ensure transparency and confidence in the process. To explore the role of the international community and the data in the 2023 election, I'm joined by an eminent from the APC and SLPP, all from the election observers and electoral. I have with me my colleague AYV's Amadou Lamrandaba, who is currently in the United States. Let me now my panelists for introductions. Yes. Can you start?
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm Amadou Lamrandaba of News and Current Affairs. Currently, in the United States of America.
Okay. Yes, next.
And you can hear me. I am a CSA practicing lawyer, currently heading the Elections Management APC, and also the caller for this ongoing register.
Next.
Mike Barrow, Director of Communications of President Sierra Leone.
Okay. I'll start to Amadou, usually in the United States. Give us a back of the meeting held recently with the President of the United States and some presidents in Africa. Lamrana.
Thank you very much, Bish. The 3 Sierra Leonean journalists who covered the U.S. Africa Leadership Summit, we were accredited, and we applied for accreditation, and we were accredited with support from the U.S. Embassy in Freetown. I have been here before the summit, so I stayed to cover the summit. My colleagues came in, the embassy facilitated their visa processes and all that, so they came and joined me, and we covered the 3-day summit. The U.S. Africa Leadership Summit was convened by the President of the United States of America, President Joe Biden. This is the second U.S. Africa Leadership Summits that they're having. He was vice president with he was vice president to President Obama in 2014 when President Obama also convened the U.S. Africa Leadership Summit here in Washington. That wasn't in winter actually, but this time it's in winter, and I've spoken to a lot of people from Africa. Some of my colleagues, other journalists who came to cover the summit, who are complaining about the weather, that they should move it to most times. So African leaders and coming their delegation would feel comfortable to move around and be part of the summit. But the idea of the summit, according to a statement from the White House, is to how to strengthen the relationship between Africa and the United States. According to President Biden, he said this is an opportunity for all of them to sit on the table, not those initiatives where the US will just make statements and send them to the continent, but this is an opportunity for him and his cabinet and his government to listen to what African leaders want, how they want to run their countries, how they want to be supported, what are their priorities, not just the United States telling them this is what we want to do. So the 3-day summit, there are several meetings, from the Africa Youth Diaspora Forum, where President Bill was one of the speakers. He spoke about his investment in education and also supporting young people in entrepreneurship and small and medium enterprises. So him attending the White House dinner and having a private meeting with President Biden and 5 other leaders from Africa whose countries will be holding elections in 2023. President Bill also attended the Business Forum, the plenary of it. He attended the Sustainable Food Security and Agriculture plenary as well. And he had a bilateral meeting with Alice Albright. Alice Albright is the CEO of the MCC. And Matthew Sierra Leone is one of the countries that is developing a compact which will end up hopefully receiving a support from the United States government to invest in water supply, electricity, and other essential services. So the president had a bilateral meeting with her, and he had a meeting with Foreign Secretary Blinken as well, and he also attended a meeting that was organized by the Speaker of the U.S. Congress, Nancy Pelosi. Himself and other leaders, including the First Lady, attended that. And on the sidelines as well, the First Lady attended a lot of meetings. She attended a meeting that was organized by the First Lady of the U.S., Jill Biden, on cancer. She attended that, and she was also with the president at the White House State Dinner. She was also at the Youth and Diaspora Forum and meetings that were organized here. But the discussion around the visit has been only had with President Biden. The meeting, before the meeting, I spoke to the deputy head of African Bureau, who informed us journalists in the press center that the meeting will focus on the 2023 elections. President Biden actually met with 6 African leaders, and Sierra Leone is part of them. In our sub-region, in 2023, Sierra Leone will be having an election, same for Liberia, in West Africa as well, for Nigeria. So he had these meetings with them, and you just mentioned in the readout that was issued by the White House, the leaders committed to holding free, fair elections in line with the African Charter on Democracy. So I had an interview with the president. I had an exclusive interview with the president at his Fairmount Hotel, and he said he has been a symbol of democracy. So people should not be worried, because I asked him, what are the fears of the U.S. government and the president of the United States? He said, well, they just wanted to know about how the country will organize a free, fair election. So he made his commitments to them, and he mentioned he thinks that he's done as head of state then, when he handed over to a democratically elected government, and how he has reviewed some of the laws, the criminal libel law, the death penalty, and now there is no political prisoner. So those are for him are symbols to show that actions to show that he is committed to democracy and peace and the rule of law. So if you read the readout, the US government clearly said they don't want to be seen as interfering in the electoral process of African countries. All they want to do is to see how they can support the process for it to be fair, transparent, and peaceful. So the Africans committed the US president that they will conduct free and fair elections. Indeed, they will uphold democratic processes. Indeed, they will ensure that the electoral process is peaceful. The US government also announced that they put in over 100 million United States dollars to support these countries, these 6 countries that will be holding elections next year. They could benefit from that funding to see how they can ensure that the process is free and fair and transparent as well. So far that's some of the highlights we've got here, but on the sidelines, I'm sure Mike Berra will be speaking about some of the meetings the president had at his hotel, but I am aware that he signed, the Minister of Health, Dr. Austin Demby, signed a memorandum of understanding with Varian. Varian is a health US-based company. They have a Sierra Leonean American with them, and who was part of the signing ceremony. They are to come. The president also spoke about that when I interviewed him. They are to come to Sierra Leone, hopefully by February, to do feasibility study, to construct a state-of-the-art cancer treatment center. So according to the president, the aim is to see how this center can cater for the sub-region, for people in Liberia, people in Guinea, and other parts who could travel to Sierra Leone to access the treatment that they will be providing. Because as you know, presently, people have to travel from Sierra Leone to go to Ghana or other parts of the world to get treatment for cancer. So that's one of the agreements or MOU that was signed between the government of Sierra Leone and Varian, United States company that has some offices. They have offices in Kenya, in Algeria, and South Africa, and they have footprints in Nigeria, Ghana, and other parts of Africa. So hopefully they will be coming to Sierra Leone base.
Mike, first, before to the APC, Ahmed. So Mike, obviously we're in the United States residents, and you've heard what Lamran has just said. Michael.
Thank you, Abis. Lamran just said everything in a nutshell. The African Leadership Summit, it's a good thing for us as a country, it's a good thing for us as a nation, because Africa will shape not only the future for African people, but also the world. You know, Africa is rooted in this recognition that Africa is the key geopolitical player, you know, in the whole world. So that is why President Biden deemed it necessary to meet with African leaders and see how best. The summit was for 3 days, 2 days specifically, from the 13th to the 15th. The President Biden believes U.S.-Africa collaboration is key, as well as civil society members or their business tycoons were there, people from the diaspora, women, youth leaders. They were there to unlock potentials that will be good for Africa. The summit was built on shared values, I must say, to be specific enough, to better foster new economic engagement, reinforce U.S.-Africa relationship, to see how best Africa can commit to democracy and human rights, to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 and the future pandemics, and also provide food security, advance peace and security, respond to climate crises, and amplify the ties with Africans and Africans all over the world. Well, for the first day, just like how Lamran has said, the president's pretty busy. It was kicked up with a focus on vital role of civil society and how to strengthen African diaspora community in the United States. This featured sessions on topics ranging from trade, investment, health, climate change, peace and security. President Bio made a strong case for Africa and Sierra Leone as a whole. So, leaders from Washington, D.C. He was about the goals and successes we've made as a country and as a nation, highlighting our human capital development with strong emphasis on youth and girls achieving better education. He also made mention of we've passed progressive laws to enrich society, democracy, including gender equality, the women's empowerment bill Lamarana was talking about. We abolished the death penalty, and Lamarana clearly stated that we don't have no political prisoner as we speak. And trying to decongest prisons, clamp down on hard and sexual gender-based violence, and more. The president also talked about migration, which I think Lamarana did not mention. The president believes that youth migrating to Western countries, it's not progressive for Africa. A lot of people are dying in this Mediterranean Sea. So he believes that there should be policies and programs that will attract youths and young people to stay in their country and become progressive and become or contribute towards what? The growth of their country. He also spoke about food production. He believes that we must develop better food production health systems as both countries, Africa and US. He said we can do a lot together through progressive partnership, and the future of Africa of youth does not lie in migration, like I just clearly mentioned, it lies in providing solutions for African youths to be progressive and be part of economic in the countries they are coming from. The key takeaway from everything the president said was what Africa has to offer. President Bio highlighted that Africa has lots to offer. He said Africa contains 30% of the earth minerals reserves, including 40% of the world gold and 40% of its chromium and platinum. Not to mention even higher percentage of rare earth and others that are indispensable for us in new emerging technologies. The president highlighted he added a percent of the world's reserve and 8% of the world's natural gas reserve, plus land most diverse ecosystems from Africa. He said there's no way it can move forward, where the world can move forward working with Africa. On the second day, it was more of like meetings. He met with a lot of business from, there was a US African summit. We are CEOs and private sector leadership for over 300 American companies were there. And heads of delegation, they try to catalyze investment in critical sectors, including health, infrastructure, energy, agribusiness, and digital. President Biden closed that business forum with a remarks after he hosted a small group of leaders from Africa. Just like I mentioned, he met with leaders, I think, from Liberia, Nigeria, Congo, Madagascar, Sierra Leone, and DRC, I guess. Those 6 leaders, having elections on 2023. So there is funding for that already, about $160 million that US want to commit to those 6 nations who are about to have the elections to make sure they have free, transparent elections, of which we are very, very, very committed to. As you can see, the MCC report on rule and justice and democracy, and you see the gains we are making in democracy, you see the engagements and all what we are doing as a country, what the president is doing. The president is very, very committed, just like what Lamarana said. He believes he's the father of democracy. He's the one who ushered Sierra Leone to the first democratic systems in the country, so he should be part of that to make sure he promotes it. After that, the president had a meeting with Idris Elba. As you know, Idris Elba is trying to have huge investment in bonds. He's on the final stages of his consultations. And so he met with the president to give him an update on that. He also met with the Rockefeller Foundation. The Rockefeller Foundation is one of the huge foundations across the world. They are investing in Africa through unleashing human potential and also through innovations. They decided that they want to reach out to Sierra Leone this time. Their impact level is about 1 billion people to renewable electricity. They have expanded access to food, they nourish about 40 million people around the world. They have regenerated environments, vaccinated over 90% at-risk populations against COVID-19. President also meets with Alice Albright on the MCC impact, the successes we have made as a country, and the president also with Chris Toth. I think Lamarana made mention of that. Chris Toth is the CEO for Varian, health and engineering subsidiary of Siemens. We memorized the good takeaway from, if you can ask base, what did we take here back to Sierra Leone? I just want people to know that we have memorialized a 10-year agreement to collaborate on developing top-class cancer center of excellence that focus on screening, diagnosis, advancing treatment and training. huge. This is really, really big. And President was really, really happy about that. And the First Lady also attended a lot of special events that was hosted by Jill Biden, the Cancer Moonshot Program. The First Lady and Jill Biden spoke on the sidelines. First Lady made a very, very strong case for Sierra Leone that cancer is killing is one of the leading causes of death in Sierra Leone. We lack the infrastructure, we lack the diagnostic tools, we lack a lot of things. And a lot of people are going to Ghana, which is a nearby country, for treatment. Most of the times people get there, they're already in a moribund condition. We are already at there. So this is huge, and there's collaboration coming from that. I catch that right now because the First Lady is still in contact with Jill Biden to see how they can have huge collaboration on that on cancer. Then after that, there were some interviews with VOA, Associated Press News, AYV also. You people interviewed the president, and VOA interviewed the First Lady, Associated Press, Washington Post. So let's just stay work for those editorials. Then the final day, our president decided to highlight level discussions among leaders, specifically like Sierra Leoneans who want to come and invest. You can be surprised to know that there are lots of Sierra Leoneans who have brilliant potentials, who have money, who have ideas, who want to come invest in Sierra Leone. So that session was dedicated to them, wherein we try to cascade what Sierra Leone has, what are the investment opportunities, how can they go about getting license, how can they go around having beating down the bureaucracies, and how can they come together and collaborate and help Sierra Leone. So basically that was it, and the president left again 2 a.m. back to Sierra Leone. So it was a hectic 3 days for our president.
Michael, can you get... Hello, Michael?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, I'm getting you. I just wanted to ask, because we saw on media, I don't know if it's one of the press of Zambia holding back million investments, but like our president, what will he be taking back home, minus the meetings?
Yeah, I just mentioned that we memorialized the 10-year deal with Varian. I just mentioned that. That's big. That's really, really huge. And Varian, I told you, it's a company that's subsidiary of Siemens. They are going to establish a first-class cancer center in Sierra Leone. The deal has been signed. This is not they are coming to do visibility studies. So the team will be in Freetown, February, to start all their installations and everything. So that is huge. That's why I said that's a takeaway, the huge takeaway. And the other thing also you want to know, Biz, is sometimes on these events, you don't just come here and just sign and invest, go. It has to talk about interface. That is why all these forums, all these meetings are very important for us as a country. As you know, our image has been very appalling out there in the international world. 2013, Sierra Leone was the most corrupt, according to the Transparency International. Nobody wants to do business with us. Nobody wants to interact with us because we are one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Our indices were very appalling. The maternal mortality rates in Sierra Leone was very appalling. Corruption was at a high end. Whilst now we're making tremendous gains in that, according to the MCC report. Corruption, we have not eradicated corruption yet. Corruption is fashionable. Now we talk about it as a people. We talk about it as a nation. We talk about it as countrymen and countrywomen. So we're making gains. You know, the key thing here is we are trying to clean our image. We are trying to become partners of the world. We are trying to showcase Sierra Leone. And now when you talk about education in developing countries, you mentioned Sierra Leone. So if I can go back to your question, the big takeaway with all the other engagement indeed, the biggest takeaway is what, like I said, mentioned, when President met with with the Varian.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael. I'll come now to Ahmed. Ahmed, you've heard about the conference, you've listened to Lamrana, and you've also listened to Michael. What's your take?
Thank you very much. Well, we have little to say. These are all proposals, as I said, as he rightly said. This is not the first time the president is embarking on memorandums of understandings, proposals, intentions, expression of interest. The key word is implementation. We've seen the president in Uganda, we've seen the president in Rwanda, the president in Qatar. Every time we're having new, we're going to have a new bridge, we're going to have new industries, juice, bakeries, and everything. Well, we're happy. See, I always say, as long as these issues, I know they take time, as long as these issues, what we know, what we prayed for is sincerity of purpose. The president is questioned about his democratic credentials or his attitude towards democracy in Sierra Leone. It is not out of the blue. It is not by all imagination. You know how these multilateral, these countries, United States and all the Westerners, how they operate. They have ears on the ground. And it goes without saying, the opposition in Sierra Leone is not happy. And ECOWAS can substantiate our claims that there's been a huge issues surrounding the forthcoming elections. The president has just proclaimed a PR system. The ECSL is at the verge of changing laws about less than 6-7 months to the elections. So if he's been confronted with these issues by the President of the United States, it is not out of the thin air. It is because there is a realistic problem. Now, utterances and assurances, they do not matter. What is really important is what is on the ground. What is on the ground is the opposition happy in the way and manner this current government is handling issues surrounding elections? No, we're not. It's the government, it's the opposition. I mean, when I say opposition, as the main opposition, the APC. Mm-hmm. Now, we're looking at a government that is making all the foundation for rigging the elections, I must say, with blatant disregard for laws surrounding elections. And I'll say this because as a government, I am saying this because the president, the leader, simply is the one who carries the blame. The buck stopped at His Excellency. If ECSL advised His Excellency, because the provision they are relying on Section 38, or the president has the right, in every aspect of the law, they are qualifying triggers. If they advise His Excellency, the president, that conditions arrive for proportional representation 6 months to the elections, the president has been advised. He's not a professional, he's not a lawyer. ECSL is charged with the responsibility to advise the president to revert to this system. And now we come back to His Excellency that, Your Excellency, we think you are not correctly advised on this issue. So if for any reason His Excellency is living to his credentials as the father of democracy, if he wants the world to see him as a father of democracy, it ought to be seen on the ground, not just expressing it in corridors of White House, on the streets of the United States. We are saying you cannot usher in a system that is premised on conditions linked to force majeure or conditions linked to almost on when we're in a calamity or some by operations of the law, and then you proclaim. So we still want to plead to His Excellency to revisit his decision here. We have reverted to the options available to us under the law, that is to seek a judicial review in the Supreme Court of Sierra Leone.
Okay.
So, on the basis of whether the president visits to the United States, all other areas, I pray that every intentions are fulfilled. They mention about cancer. I'm very passionate about cancer remedies in this country. And I pray that those intentions, everything that was planned are fulfilled.
Okay.
I also pray and hope that whosoever wants to invest in Sierra Leone, the likes of Ilpis, Elbas, and others, that their intentions are equally fulfilled. But when we talk about whether we are happy in the way and manner the president is handling issues surrounding elections, we're not.
Listening to Sierra Leone Decide on AYV TV, channel 33, and radio, 101.7 FM, and on DSP 399. I am Mama Jajabi, broadcasting live videos right in London, and we're discussing about recent meeting held by the President of the United States with some Africans, and we particularly Sierra Leone because our president was part of it. If I could go back to Lamana, can you just, how was the atmosphere in the meeting?
Well, this is the United States of America, and I would not want to compare planning and coordination of the meetings to any other place, but it was well coordinated, very, very, very secured, and the access to the summit. I was doing COVID-19 test every other morning. All 3 days I have to do COVID-19 test. I have an app that was sent to me. I'll give my information in case I feel sick every other day. When I go in the morning, the process was very easy. I just take the testing kits, then I do my own test and they come with the result. They send the result to my email. Then I'll be given a band to be able to access. And one thing that is very fascinating is that, the coordination was very easy. You don't spend 10 or 15 minutes to do the COVID-19 test if you want to go into the convention center. And everyone knows where they should go. Like us, the press, we know we have our press center. We go there directly. You have to have access tag to go to the meetings, the bilateral meetings, the conferences that they were having. You need to have access so that you can be escorted. But during the meeting, we also had ministers who came, because after attending the meetings, we told them we wanted to interview them. We interviewed the Minister of Health, Dr. Dembi, the Minister of Trade and Industry, Dr. Inga Sandi, and also the Minister of Education, who was part of the delegation. We had interviews with them at the press center. The planning, coordination, and security, we were told that we had to wait for some time for security clearance before accreditations were confirmed, because the Secret Service had to security on us, and they understand who are the people who are coming close to the president of the US. But it was well planned. I only hope African leaders who came to and their delegations will learn from this on planning events and organizing events as well. You won't go where you are not wanted. You won't go where you don't have any business. Mike could say that he was part of the government delegation, and the security, the people who hosted the African leaders here put premium on security to ensure their safety, and also premium on every other person who was going into those halls to either cover as a journalist or be part of the delegation or of the government that came. It was well planned. The atmosphere, I in the media room when every other minute they will announce about bilateral meetings, and there's a place, the deal room. The deal room is where private companies, they have the corporate council here, which is like the Chamber of Commerce. They coordinate signing of agreements between African governments and the private companies here in the US. So every other minister...
Okay, Lamana, can you get me? Sorry to interrupt you. I want to ask a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can.
Okay, again, I've been watching international news, and what I was hearing was like the president of the United States was doing this because of the influence of Russia and China in Africa. Was this meeting a surprise or what?
Well, that was a question a journalist asked. I can call it. He's from AFP, Senator, the Secretary of State Anthony Blinken had a press conference at the end of the summit, where all of us attended, and that this was a question someone asked, and his response was, "The more the merrier. It's not about competing for the space in Africa." According to him, this is their own meeting. If other countries are hosting same meeting to support her, it's good for the continent. It means the continent is very important. So what they are doing is what they think they should do, to have a roundtable discussion to understand what African leaders want for their countries, not to just impose on them. So he was reacting directly to the issue about the scramble for Africa between China and the United States of America. So his response were that this is an opportunity for Africa. They want to meet with Africans and their leaders. If other countries also are doing the same, it means it's good for Africa. But what we should understand as Africans is, President Bill mentioned that, Africans were part of the first industrial revolution, the second industrial revolution. How are Africans preparing themselves for the fifth industrial revolution, which is the technology age? So he challenged in his statement at the Youth and Diaspora Summit, he challenged African leaders to invest in building the skills of young people, which to him is very, very important. And I think that has been the symbol of the discussions here. If you check some of the amounts being spent, announced by President Biden, they will be supporting innovation and technology. They will be supporting African countries to develop innovation and technology hubs to support African youth to be able to compete with other young people across. I think African leaders should also look at opportunities, how they can invite Western leaders to come to the continent to meet with them, discuss on issues that they think these countries can leverage on.
All right.
Mike mentioned about 300 private companies that were at these meetings. The questions we should be asking as Africans is, our leaders will pay for their delegations, they come to these meetings. What we should be asking is, I saw a lot of debates going around about who first went to the Oval Office, who didn't snap them. I think our discussion we should be about, like you asked, how much are we benefiting? I can say for sure, there are countries like Kenya, Angola, Zambia, that signed millions of dollars contracts with private companies in the deal room. It's in the emails they send to us every day, the fact sheet. These are the questions we should be asking as a continent, as a country. What are the things we're coming with when we come to this meeting? What are the deals that we are signing? We've got Varian. What are the other companies? What are the potential? For now, if you get the statement from President Biden at the Business Forum, he has committed over 15 billion United States dollars in investments in technology, in agriculture, in healthcare. So our concern and effort should be, how do we tap into those resources? How do we benefit from those resources? How do we present projects and proposals to benefit from those resources? And when I asked the president about that, what he mentioned was they're going to set up a team to do follow-up. Mark you, in 2014, President Obama hosted the same summit, and there is not much to show for as a continent. Leaders will come, they meet, and they go. So what we should be talking about is, how do we do follow-up? How do we benefit from those funds that will be made available by the U.S. government? How do we connect with the sectors here? Because what is very clear is, a country like ours needs investments. It needs private sector investments. It needs things that we could do that could create jobs, things that we could do that we can be able to export to the West and other parts of the world, just so that we can have enough resources to take care of ourselves. I think moving forward, this should be the discussion. What do we intend to benefit from these meetings, and what are the opportunities that we could tap into, even connecting private companies here in America and other private companies in Sierra Leone. There are a lot of opportunities. I've read about them, I've heard them speak about it, and hopefully governments will take advantage of them.
All right. Mike, I'll come over to you. You've heard what Ahmed said. What's your take?
Want Ahmed to retract that statement, saying, because these are some of the misleading statements we don't want to be going out there to people. And that's why it's very important we have in all these conversations, these roundtable discussions, saying America is worried about elections in Sierra Leone. That's why they met. No, I just made mention it's 6 countries. You fail to realize that we are a post-war country. Liberia and Sierra Leone, a post-war country. Our democracy is still fragile. So you can say President Bio was called or was invited because America is worried about the elections in Sierra Leone. America wants to promote elections. This will happen every year. If another countries are having elections also in 2024, I bet you America will call those countries again to come sit down and promote, because they want to promote democracy in Africa. We see what is happening. We see the coups now in Africa that's happening. We see, you and I know, you have a legal background. You know that democracy is the only way out. So let's stop cherry picking words, because we're getting into elections. Our words are very important. What we say to people are authoritative. People listen to us. Let's make sure we tell people hard facts. And to be part of Sierra Leone's democracy. They are not supporting any political party. They are not any ruling government. They just want to make sure elections are free and fair, of which I made very clear, very explicitly, that our president is determined to make sure free and fair elections are happening. You can see around the country what is happening. You can see how the ESL is partnering with UNDP and UN Women's Organization, having gender electoral assessments all over the country. They are having meetings, stakeholders meetings, asking people to identify challenges that happened the last 2018 elections so it doesn't happen again. We're having consultative dialogues all over the country. We've seen what is happening. President Bio announced the election day 1 year before the elections to tell you he's committed. So if your party is not prepared for the proportional representation system, this is not something that the president is taking out of context. It's not something that is not going with the books or the law that is enshrined in our land. The proportional representation system offers a better hope for decision making in the public eye and more inclusive cross-sectional society. This is something you and I should accept. It's not because you are not prepared as a political party. That means, I had you saying, oh, the opposition. Mind you, APC is not only the opposition party in Sierra Leone. There are other opposition parties in Sierra Leone. Everything that has to do with this proportional representation, has been thorough, has been very transparent within the laws and the ambits of our country. For 1961, parliamentary proportional representation in Sierra Leone, in which about 750,858 people voted, Sierra Leone People's Party got about 269,000. That was like about 35% of the total vote. The United National Party, the UNPP, got 22%. The People's Democratic Party got like 15%. The APC got, All People Congress got 5%. National Unity Party got 5%. Democratic Center Party got 4%. So how are the seats distributed? You saw how they distribute. This tells you how representation comes with proportional the PR system. SIPP got 27 seats, UNPP got 17, P got 12, APC got 5, NUP got 4, DRP got 3, and others 0. For many new democracies, studies have shown that for many new democracies, particularly those faced with deep societal divisions like Sierra Leone, the inclusion of all significant groups and parties in the legislative can be a near essential condition for democratic consolidations. So this is your idea. This is APZ's idea. So failing to ensure that both minorities and majorities have a stake in developing political systems can have catastrophic consequences. Because why? you want everybody to be inclusive. That is key, and that is what America that was what they were emphasizing. They were not emphasizing on only free and transparent elections, but they were emphasizing on free, inclusive, and participatory. And that is what the PR system offers. So if you are not prepared as a political, that's your fault. But we are going to move forward with this. This is what the Sierra Leoneans want. This is what the people want. We want to have an inclusive and participatory democracy in Sierra Leone. And the PR system offers that. So let's take time with our words. We should not be using words just because we want to get and gain public sympathy.
All right, yes, Ahmed, let's listen. You've had, what's your response?
Their assertions. You said the President of the United States is worried because there are 6 elections going in the sub-region. He's worried because he wanted inclusiveness. They summon you because they want to see transparent elections. And I simply take the cue from your earlier assertions. Sierra Leone being one of those countries that we are summoned to the United States to actually profile their expectation of free, fair, inclusive elections. I don't think I spoke outside your textbook. I did not invent the words. If Sierra Leone is one of 6 countries that elections are pending, if your idea of inclusiveness means dragging members of parliament, using police officers to drag members of parliament outside the parliament, and then on their behalf, the majority, and earlier on I introduced myself as Ahmed Sise from the majority opposition in parliament, the main opposition of parliament. I'm not saying it's the only, and if you could recall. Now, if your idea of inclusiveness is dragging members of parliament who are willing to debate a statutory instrument, who are saying that before we go to debating, before you lay this statutory instrument, we need to debate because the protocol of parliament states that once a statutory instrument is laid in parliament, the burden of proof, the burden of disparity rests upon the opposition. In other words, if you do not want this, you need 2/3 majority. Now, he's saying once it is laid, it means it's technically passed. So let us debate this as pre-leg. It's called pre-legislation meetings. That is all our members of parliament requested from parliament. And a dispute ensued in parliament. And the next thing, the police were summoned up, and they drag all the members of parliament outside. On their behalf, they lay a document. Will you say that is inclusive? I understand there is an impasse. There is a dispute. A prudent parliament who wants to really show to the world that the government is inclusiveness in the process, and I'm going to borrow your word again, that the United States is condoning inclusiveness. If really the attitude of this government is to make sure every political party is included, the prudent thing will have been, the prudent remedy, I would suggest, I mean, one would argue, the parliament, the speaker, will have maintained decorum and have a pre-legislative meeting. Now, I was advised in parliament when they tabled the just newly assented Public Election Act of 2022 on a particular provision, 55, wherein they want the elections of Sierra Leone shall be conducted using the PR system. That was the draft. It was met with robust opposition in parliament. In the end, the speaker has to stood the parliament down, summon all the parties in his chambers. They talk. It's called pre-legislative meetings. And that was all they asked for.
Okay.
So now, if you're saying that inclusiveness, we are saying that America is worried. I am not saying America is worried for Sierra Leone. America is worried that Africa, especially West Africa, the institutions that is charged with conducting elections are not fair. The the European Union also subscribed in a lengthy document containing 117 provisions. It is called the European Union Observer Mission Report on Sierra Leone. They were equally worried. The ECOWAS Parliament, recently, they were equally worried. So if you think we as a political party, we just concoct stories at our leisure, my brother, we're just doing our duty as an opposition to ensure free and fair elections.
Okay, Mike, again, let's go back with this meeting held in the United States. How can we, translate this back home to have a free and fair elections? And how, which role do you think the international community could play for us to have a free and fair elections come next year, 2023? Can you hear me, Mike? Hello, Mike, can you hear me? Hello, Mike? I see Mike is having a problem with his earpiece, I think. Hello, Mike, can you hear me? Hello, Mike? I think we're having a problem getting Mike, I don't know. Hello, Mike? Okay.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Did you hear my question?
Yeah, go ahead. Repeat that again, sir.
Okay, I said, now the meeting has been held in the United States. How can we translate this back home to have a free and fair elections? And which role do you think the international community could play for us to have a free and fair election come next year?
Well, to be very candid enough, it takes all of us. It's not just one side. It takes every Sierra Leonean. It takes you as a journalist. It takes you as a reporter. It takes civil society. It takes all political parties, those in opposition, to make sure we have a free and fair election. Don't forget, Sierra Leone is a sovereign country, right? America, what they will do, or what aid agencies will do, they will just provide the support. They will just provide the fundings and to train people. But it's incumbent on me and you to make sure that we have free and transparent elections. It has to do with character, it has to do with attitude, it has to do with patriotism, it has to do with nationalism. So it starts with us, these conversations we are having, these roundtable discussions we are having. How sincere are we? Is it about country first, or is it about politics first? Is it about the interest of your party, or is it about the interest of your country? So these are the issues. You know, these people will provide all the funds. At the end of the day, if we as a people, we as a country, we as individuals, we are not ready to have transparent, free, and fair elections, we are just going to go in circles. Like I rightly said, the president I know, President Julius Maada Bio, is committed to a free and fair elections in Sierra Leone. He has exhibited that in so many ways. He called for the consultative conference, the third consultative conference, wherein all of us can come sit down and draw a clear path how our country should go. The APC party did not show up. We saw videos when they were asking their supporters, "Long go there or long not go there?" They said, "No, long not go there." There are many times he had made advances to them for us to come sit down as a country for us to plan. They have been falling short. So it's not because, like what my learned brother was saying, that they whisked the opposition party out of parliament. How will you start throwing chairs in parliament? Is that a debate? Is that a dialogue? You start throwing chairs, you start throwing furnitures in parliament? Is that Sierra Leonean? Is that what is expected from a parliamentarian? Of course, the police, people who are there to maintain law and order are going to come and ask you out. So that is not even an argument here. So my my position here is I just want my brother to make his statements clear. Our democracies in Sierra Leone has been one of the best people are looking up to. The MCC report is an independent and authoritative evidence that justifies that. Political rights, we passed it. Civil liberties, we passed it. Control of corruption, we passed it. Rule of law, we passed it. Freedom of information, we passed it. It is on this merit that they are even inviting us to go to world forums. So he's saying that America is worried about our elections, worried about, no one is worried about it. America just wants to be part of anywhere there is democracy. America wants to live there. They want to be part of Africa. They want to see how they can support, right? There are human rights activities they are supporting, democracies in health projects. So we're getting into election. This is just one part of what they want to support. So don't start using words, oh, President Bio was summoned to a meeting because of, no, there were 6 presidents. Nigeria, Congo, Liberia, Madagascar, DRC. These are the countries who were there. They were literally asking, how can we support when you get into elections? How can we help? There is funding.
Okay, Mike, before I come to Ahmed, what are some of the evidences or signs you see or tell our listeners or viewers out there that we'll have a free and fair elections come next year? Can you hear me, Mike? Hello, Mike?
Are you there?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Yes, I can get you now.
Okay. There are evidences, clear evidences. That
what are they?
One of the evidences I can justify is, even yesterday, there was a political party Legion committee meeting, but with the ESL facilitation of SMS, mobile, web apps to check voters' information. That is one way you show, that's transparency. We are in voters, we know their rights, where to go vote, they will be educated. That is inclusivity. That is one way to show that there is nothing we are hiding. There was an approved regulations also for the 2023 multi-tier elections in accordance with Section 32 and 33 of the 1991 Constitution of Sierra Leone. Parliament has also approved regulations for the conduct of 2023 elections in accordance with Section 32 and 33 of the 1991 Constitution of Sierra Leone. So there is a lot of commitments to it. ESL has been very transparent. He's having meetings. You and I know this. It's on social media, it's on their Twitter handle, it's all over the place. They are making jingles, having people to participate, even involving people who are disabled this time, providing ways for even disabled people, blind people to even vote. This is what we call inclusivity. This is what we call oneness. This is what we call a participatory democracy. Participatory democracy doesn't seem, because the opposition is not happy with things that are not going in their favor, so that means it's not favorable. No, this is the idea. The APC were the ones who brought this up. It is their idea. It's now because they are not prepared for elections. They don't have a flag bearer up to now. They cannot hold constituency elections. Now they think they are failing. So all they want to do now is to disrupt. All they want to do now is to come out there and tell people as if this is not the right way to go, because they are just pretty crying babies. Okay. They've seen the defeat. Because elections start with preparations. If you are not prepared before getting into elections, definitely you are going to lose. So all I'm saying here, Mr. Mamaja Jallo, is the president I know, the president I believe, the president I've sat and spoke with, he's determined to make sure Sierra Leone have a free and fair elections. That is why he's not interfering in nothing. That is why he left it independently in the hands of the apparatus that are responsible to conduct free and fair elections in Sierra Leone. And like I said, we have evidences to point to that. We have justifications to prove that. The MCC record is an evidential report to show that Sierra Leone, we are moving forward when it comes to democracy. We are moving forward when it comes to civil liberties. We are moving forward when it comes to democratic rights. We are moving forward when it comes to having women become participatory in governance. These are key indicators to show that we are ready for a free and fair democratic elections in Sierra Leone come 2023.
All right. Ahmed, I'll come to you, but again, I'll ask you the same question which I asked Mike. Which role do you think the international community should play? And I mean, what are the evidences or signs that we'll have a free and fair elections come next year?
I think the international community, like what the United States are doing right now, they are on good footing to ensure that they remind various heads of state, including ours, their obligation under the law, domestic laws, their international obligation under the ICCP, the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, which guarantees every citizen to communicate their beliefs, their wishes through the ballot box, free and fair. Now, he mentioned about PPL, Political Party Election Committee meeting. As I mentioned earlier, I do represent the APC on electioneering. So every PPLC meeting, I'm there. What is a meeting? If the attendees profile concerns and those concerns are not addressed accordingly, the mere conduct of a meeting will not resolve issues. We've been on several meetings. We have asked the ECSL to provide the data obtained from the fields, disaggregated data for the purposes of audit. The ECSL now say there are 257,000 multiple registration. We have requested that give us the list and names of this evidence of this multiple registration. ECSL say, okay, we'll give you. Let us go to Wellington Data Center. We shall conduct a deduplication wherein you will be able to see these cases. We went to Wellington, cut a long story short, nothing was disclosed to us. So how now you saying, because you call us in a political party election committee meetings to profile our grievances, our concern, and indeed we put a plethora of concerns and nothing is being attended to. As we sit here, we are demanding that the system be audited because every indication, you have a census. This census, you believe the census. You have massively discredited the census. How? ECSL cannot rely on the census to appropriate seats by district. Instead, they use the current census and the old census, add together, formulate a mean, and then allocate seats. That is ludicrous, my brother. The rule is a new census, after duly assented by His Excellency, revokes the previous. So because you do not trust the census that says Freetown is only 625,000 and Kenima is 700,000, and now the registration says Freetown registered 595,000. That is 99% of Etonians registered, including non-eligible voters, young
do you have evidence in some of these numbers you're mentioning?
So I'm just saying that when you say there has been all warnings, all trappings of you're talking about whether we think the conduct of ECSL and government bear the trappings of free and fair elections. The answer is no, because the previous elections, 2018, ECSL, NEC, formerly called, are yet to give us a disaggregated results, polling station by polling station, constituency by constituency. And that pattern is still developing. In 2018, in 2015, did the previous regime disclose the 53,000 perceived deduplication to political parties? The answer is yes. Did the ECSL, formerly called NEC, disclose in 2018 the raw data obtained from the field post-registration? The answer is yes. So are you saying...
Can you just hold on, Ahmed? Mike, what could you say about some of those numbers? Or, what Ahmed is saying, what can you say about that?
Base, let me tell you very candidly, For every project, for every implementation, there must be issues that needs to be addressed. That is why the Elections Commission is having consultations, periodic consultations with political parties, having consultations with stakeholders, doing training programs so that all these abnormalities will be addressed. All these things they are bringing will be addressed. This is one sign to show commitment. This is one sign that is showing that this government is ready to commit to freer elections. I will tell you bluntly, crystal clear, APC know they are going to lose these elections, period. They know that. So they are doing everything humanly possible within their reach to discredit it. We know that. The Sierra Leonean people know that. People know the games they play. People know what they are capable of doing. So they are looking at every detail, every T's, I's, and make a huge ambiguous statement out of that.
Some of the issues he's mentioning not correct?
What do you mean? They are not. Most of the issues he's mentioning, they are not. He's
Ahmed,
just making them up.
Can you provide evidences or guide, Mike, so that he can know where the needs are?
No. It's a factual issue. This is an issue of fact. Do we have disaggregated results word by word? Did your party receive a data containing disaggregated results word by word, constituency by constituency from ECSL?
That is not true. That is absolutely not true.
No. I'm just asking you, has your party received or have they disclosed to your political party, the SLP, a data containing disaggregated, when I mean disaggregated, every word, say this is the amount of registrants per word, so that the polling agent you sent to that ward to monitor will be able to compare their data, their bookkeeping, with that of ECSL. Have your party received that? And if the answer is no, is that fair?
What do you mean?
I am saying, let me rephrase. I am saying the whole essence of sending political party agents in the field at the centers to equally keep tabs of every registrant is to ensure that at the end of the process, they will be able to confer and see if what they have on their database as the number of people registered in this center does tally with that of ECSL. That is the essence of accrediting political. As your party, I ask you now on the public media, has your party received this aggregated version as per recommendation 77 of the European Union recommendation, which says results must be disclosed on a timely manner and a transparent manner? Has your party received that data?
We are here to discuss about free and fair elections. As far as I'm concerned, as far as my political party is concerned, as far as my government is concerned, they are going with all what are the regulations and mandates that has been set by the Election Commission to make sure we have a free and fair elections in Sierra Leone. We have been thorough on that. We are doing reviews on it. We are having consultations on that. We are doing what is necessary within the law, within the ambit of the society in Sierra Leone to make sure that our elections are free and fair. So like I said, if your political party is not prepared, if you are dysfunctioned at a party level, if your political party is shattered on policy basis, we are not responsible for that. We are not going to sit down and wait for APC to organize themselves for us to have elections. If you are falling short on the policies, procedures, the things you're supposed to do, you are not doing them, you don't have a flag bearer, you can hold constituency elections, that is your problem. That is not our problem. We know best, like I told you, this guy is a simple base. This is, you and I know, we are old enough to know, elections, for you to win elections in Sierra Leone, you have to prepare. It starts from a registration process. These were the same people who went and told their people not to go out to register. You will saw party stalwarts, key stakeholders, making videos on social media, telling people not to go out and register for the census. Now, when the census results came out, it's been accepted by the government of Sierra Leone. They start crying. So when you talk of inclusivity, you talk about participatory democracy. This is a two-way track. You also have to bring something on the table. You have to be willing to
Mike, thank you. We'll get back to you guys. I just want to remind listeners and viewers that we broadcasting live from our studios, AYV International Studios right here in Seoul Square in the United Kingdom. And you're listening to Sierra Leone Decides on AYV TV 33 and on radio 101.7 FM and on DSTV 399. And we'll get some messages in a short while. But again, before I come to Ahmed, I just want to ask you again, Mike, satisfied international community will get a free and fair elections come next year?
Definitely, Bis. Definitely. We've proved that beyond all reasonable doubts. The president is committed to that, committed to that as a country. And like I said, the evidences are very clear. I always like to draw people back to the MCC report. This report that shows a country that is willing to conduct free and fair elections. Political rights, we did well there. Civil liberties, we did well. Control of corruption, rule of law, freedom of information. Mama, these are indicators that point to a country that wants to move forward, to a country that upholds democracy. So these are the evidences. Now, because we are getting into elections, these guys are not prepared for elections. They cannot even hold their own elections. They don't even have policies in place. They are dysfunction as a political party. All they are trying to do is to discredit it, to discredit the processes, even our institutions, our credible institutions, like the Electoral Commission. People come from all over Africa to look at best practices with ESL. These people are discrediting it.
Okay.
They discredit.
All right. I'll come to you, Mike. I'll just go back to Ahmed again, like you've mentioned about, they've not put them there. I'll ask you now, Ahmed, you've shared your concern. And what is the way forward for the APC when, we've seen so many things happening within the APC, trying to put yourself together. We heard about the court case. We heard about some violence in some different places. So what's the way forward, Ahmed?
Okay, now before I go way forward, let me let me just quickly, I'm not saying correct my brother, but let me just remind my brother. Yeah. You kept saying about MCC. You know how MCC compact work? No. When the compact is solid, when you've achieved the compact, your bank balance speaks. Let the central bank governor say the Sierra Leone Bank has been credited with MCC funding. We've been on this compact for a longer time, and yet Sierra Leone Commercial Bank has not been credited with money. So please take us this idea about we have solid compact. I take the cue from the U.S. ambassador in Sierra Leone. He said you are yet to still demonstrate an evidence of strong compact before you attract the MCC. And that tweet was just a few weeks ago. So please, I am not saying or crying down your achievement, but it is yet to sell. It is still in the oven. Okay. Now, let me come back to this. Yeah. You see,
go there.
Our political party, there is method to our madness. There is method to our madness, okay? My friend is just saying we're still in disarray. You know how when APC come together. In 2007, we were fighting. We have a barrage of litigation. 6 months to the election, we unite and we ascend to the throne. So there is method to our madness. Please let that don't fool you, okay? We're solid and we'll come back solid. What I know, there is overwhelming resentment in the country. Things are very hard. We're just, as I speak right now, fuel is so scarce. One could seek for gold today instead of embarking for fuel. So there are so many. When you speak about how this government is performing, the people of Sierra Leone seem to think that you're talking about a different country from where they're living right now. So the people going to the polls will decide whether really and truly you guys have worked. So it is just few months down the road. You talk about our political parties. Yes, we have impasse within the party, but we are now solid. We've unite. We have a deadline. The issue is lordship orders have been attended to, and we have a time constraint order. By the 29th of January, we'll have our flag bearer. So the issue of whether you guys are ready, we're born ready. And now you're saying anytime we try to express our concerns, you bring in our intra-party dispute. It has nothing to do with our right under the Constitution. So please don't skew the argument. When we say we want this, you say, yeah, we're busy fighting ourselves. The SLPP equally was in a similar footing when you are in opposition. You were busy fighting. If it's not humiliating you, Kela's mother in your doorstep, you will do things. But you came together. So let that don't derogate your constitutional right. I mean, even the man heading to the gallows has his own right. Condemned man about to be killed in the next 2 hours cannot be killed if he's ill. He said, I have a toothache. You cannot kill them. So if you think we are that disunited, we still have our rights to pursue. So please stop saying our intra-party activities is what we're providing. We're telling you now that all our concerns have not been addressed to. And when the APC, now today, I'm glad you sit there and give credence to the same ECSL that you are condemning. This ECSL, you said they have a reputation in the sub-region. When you were in the opposition, you were raining barrage of condemnation to the former commissioner. And the entire ECSL, every by-election, you will have your press media. You condemn the police, you condemn. So please, it is just, today you're in the driving seat. But let us respect each other's concerns. If you have legitimate concern as SLPP, I will abhor it because I might not agree with you. I might not be in the same party, but I will lay my life for your rights under the Constitution. It is just because we are in the opposition, you think we are useless, we should not profile our concerns where necessary. We have the right to express our concern, but do not discard them with disrespect. Just say, okay, if you have legitimate concern, let ECSL address your concern. But you have no rights to appropriate weight, whether they have weight under the law, or they are useless, or they are baseless. Let ECSL address our concern. Equally, when SLPP came up with concerns that were legitimate during our time, we give credence to those concerns. And we say, yes, they have legitimate concern. The SLPP said the Inspector General, they have the police are heavy-handed. We say, yes, they are heavy-handed. We bring in police officers who went in and unleashed mayhem at the SLPP office. We bring them to book because we think it is heavy-handedness. But it doesn't mean if you are in the opposition and your colleague, your counterpart in the other side is profiling concerns, meaning you should derogate them.
All right, okay.
It is not fair.
Before I come to Brewer to respond quickly, you mentioned that the APC will be having their flag bearer around January. Am I right?
Yes, not later than the 29th of January. That's a court order.
Okay. All right. My coach would like to respond to what Ahmed said quickly.
First of all, I just want to, maybe he's not privy to this. I just want him to know that the board met on December 9, 2022, and select eligible countries to which the United States, through the MCC, will seek to enter the MCC Act pursuant to Section 607 and the Act of 22 USC 7706. And the board also selected the following eligible countries for such assistance for FY 2023: Senegal, Gambia, Togo, and the board selected the following previously selected countries compact assistance for FY 2023, which is Cote d'Ivoire, Mozambique, Sierra Leone, and Zambia. So I don't know where he's getting all this. I said, this is always APC. Like, we know these guys. This is what they are capable of doing. This is what they do. Bring us a candidate. Elections, democracy starts from within. You have to fix your house before you can be prepared to rule a country. You are not ready to gain power. You are not ready to rule Sierra Leone. So fix your house, put your house in order. Again, we want to see if you can have a free and fair elections first. Get a free and fair elections, because what we are seeing within your party does not represent Sierra Leone, does not represent democracy. I don't want to delve into your political party things that is happening, because our focus here is Sierra Leone election 2023.
Yeah.
But you have to show us what you have. You have to show us what you can offer. And that starts within, my brother. It starts with you having a free and fair, consultative, inclusive elections within the APC before we can sit down and start elections 2023. But you don't have it. You are disorganized. You don't
get it. That is,
you don't have,
my brother.
You don't even have a clear. I'm coming. You don't even have a clear path. So the only thing you're doing now is you're trying to obstruct every policies, every democratic policies, everything the government is bringing or the Electoral Commission is bringing. You are trying to discredit it. At the end of the day, what's going to happen? When you are going to lose, then you're going to point to all those references that we were saying this, this was not meet, this condition was not meet. We know your tricks, right? So when
you cannot go to Washington.
Now I'm coming.
You
when
cannot.
You talk of participating democracy, when you talk of participating democracy, let it start with you. Show us what you have. Show us what you got. Show us what you are capable of doing as a political party before you come to national politics.
Listen, I could go on and on. This debate is not about intra-party arguments. It's not that I have nothing on my sleeve for your party, but out of respect for the moderator, I would like to abide by the topic.
Yeah.
But you keep skewing to my party. It's just out of respect to the moderator. Okay. I've got a barrage of issues. Your party is inundated with issues of every undemocratic issue. But out of respect for the topic, I do not want to skew the topic or tweak the topic. You understand? Right. So let's stick to the topic of the day.
No,
these are key national issues. You cannot prepare the slates for rigging the elections and you go to Washington and purport as if everything is doom and gloomy. We will not take that.
Okay,
we cannot.
Mike, I think we need to stick to the issues that has to do with the elections, like Ahmed said, because I believe every political party has his or her own problem, you know. So let's stick to the issue.
Back to that, if we want to talk about democracy, we're talking about democracy, right? It starts from within. It starts from these little elections we hold. It starts from it starts from there. It starts from there. Cannot say.
But again, I mean, your own party must have their own problems anyway. So let's stick to the issue.
So let us have a special day for that, Mike.
Exactly.
If you want to debate me on the uprightness of the two political parties, the history of the two political parties, let us have a special topic for that. Designated for that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, that's a point really. We'll find time for that, but our focus is about the elections. And I just want to remind listeners that you're listening to AYV Radio 101.7 FM, AYV Television, Channel 33, and on DSTV, Channel 39. We broadcasting live from our studios right here in London. And we have a viewer out there who is representing the Sierra Leone People's Party, and Ahmed, who is representing the All People's Congress. Again, just want to remind our listeners and viewers out there that we try to invite some members of the ECSL are new, but unfortunately, we can't get them. But we'll find another program this time so that they can also be part of this program so that we can discuss the way forward for the free and fair elections come 2023. Okay? Yes, Mike, you like to say something about, I mean, I asked you earlier on about, I mean, the international community, how could you assure them that we'll have a free and fair election? But let me ask Ahmed, what do you think, what could you tell the international, I mean, people listening to you out there that we'll have a free and fair elections come 2023. Let's leave the problem with the parties, like you said earlier on. All political parties have their own problem. We'll find time to discuss that. But let's go to how we can get a free and fair elections come 2023. Ahmed.
How we can get free and fair election? Free and fair election has a lot of ramifications. It also has a security connotation. And I would like to start that it is incumbent upon us all as Sierra Leoneans to ensure that the integrity of the institution charged with responsibility to conduct elections, i.e. the police, the ECSL, ONS, and all these institutions are not eroded, to ensure that their integrity is intact. And it is all our responsibility as political parties. How do we do that? We should be able to vouch on behalf of this institution to our supporters that they've done the right thing. You understand? Yeah. Us as political party, we should have healthy dialogue. That is a precursor to free and fair elections. We should be able to engage each other on issues that are pertinent to the growth of this nation. We should be able to see, when I see my fellow SLPP colleague trying to make a very important point, like for instance, Femi Claudius Cole had a very important issue. I should be able to come back and say, well, actually, she's got a point there. If the SLPP are saying that this issue, and they're not happy, they want to ensure transparency. If I am crying for transparency, what part of that will minus from the SLPP? If my fellow SLPP supporters will say, well, actually, let's demand ensure there is transparency, satisfy the fulfillment of other political parties, so they will be happy. So even if we emerge victorious, they will know that it was a clean contest. But you are saying, no, you don't even have the right to ensure transparency. So it is us as party operatives to ensure free and fair elections, to ensure that because the next stop from fair and the absence of free and fair elections is anarchy. Okay. Because it's absent of the law. So we should be mindful as operatives that we should actually be supportive to that, to every demand that will ensure that the integrity of this institution are not eroded. All right. Okay. That's the institution of the police, the ONS, the ECSL. Make sure they have impeccable integrity.
All right. So again, okay. Sorry to interrupt you. Ahmed, I want to ask again. There are other players in this whole thing, which maybe I forgot to ask earlier on, which I like both of you guys to respond to. Which role do you think the civil society, police, and we, the people, because the ordinary masses, because now you guys are representing your political parties, but the masses are there, the people. What's your message to them? I mean, in contributing to elections, unity and diversity, like you mentioned, I mean, healthy debates. What's your message to the ordinary Sierra Leoneans, civil society, police, for us to have a free and fair elections? I'll still start with you, Ahmed.
I would like to say, don't take my word for it. Let us go by the recommendations of the European Union, which says that institutions charged with the responsibility to conduct elections in Sierra Leone have credibility issues. So that is very important. Our role as Sierra Leoneans, including the police, must ensure that every aspect of their burden given to them, their statutory burden, is discharged impartially. We as Sierra Leoneans as well have to ensure, considering the violent history of this country, anything that suggests to what was embedded in the Truth and Reconciliation as a factor for our civil war must be averted at its manifestation. So we are seeing a pattern here. So we as Sierra Leoneans, regardless of whether you're a civil servant, whether you're police, whether you're security, we should be mindful that in the end of the day, we're trying to serve the people of Sierra Leone. Let us do it sincerely, diligently, in accordance with what we always sing in our national anthem and our national pledge.
Okay. Before we come to you, Mike, quickly, I'll just take two messages. We have about 5 more minutes. Yaba B-Star Musa says, SLPP and APC are the problem of this country. We're in opposition. They see the good things and programs, but when in power, they consider the selfish interests at the expense of the masses. And Yaba, okay, Francis T.Y. Kurumasi, in 2017, the SLPP got their standard flag bearer BRA, in bracket flag BRA, 3 months to election. So with APC now is not a novelty. Over to you, Mike, before we try to wrap it up.
Yeah, before we wrap it up, let me just bring back to my friend the elements of free and fair elections. It starts with voters registration. It starts with census. And like I rightly said, these were the people who were out there trying to make sure that these processes that ensures free and fair elections has been sabotaged. It also has to do with voters having reliable access to reliable information. I just mentioned the apps that the Electoral Commission is trying to provide. SMS, we having voters we got where they can get information about election. That is being done. But the same APC that is going out giving their own supporters information that are not reliable. So if we are talking about a free and participatory elections, it has to do with the will of the people. That is very, very key. Is APC committed to a free and fair elections? We as a people, we all have a role to play. You are playing your own role, Mr. Jallo. I am playing my own role as a citizen. The government is playing their own role, providing funds, providing a free space, free from interference, making sure that people have their democratic settings for them to exercise their democratic franchise. That is the role of what government can do. But what is the role of other political parties? It is incumbent. You can't just be crying. When I mention this, then he's saying, I don't have to mention his party. But it starts from within. Then also you have to look at what citizens can want. You have to look at what the voters are able to do, or voters' participation in all this. So this is incumbent on all of us. Like I rightly said, we have indicators to show that we are determined to a free and fair elections. Our country is one of the countries that democracy is thriving. Okay. We are the most peaceful countries in the world, in Africa and the sub-region as a whole. We have created that atmosphere where people can contribute towards democratic processes. Right. So it is left with other political parties to exercise the will, to show us the will, to show that they are ready to participate, and we can all have, and it also even starts, free and fair elections or even start with accepting results also based. Okay. Start from accepting results. Because like I say, all what APC is doing, they are trying to set the premise. They are trying to set the premise, and that is why I want to remind Sierra Leoneans to be aware of this. Okay. They are bringing up issues that are not really, really relevant, because everything is transparent. This is doing everything possible to have consultations with all political parties. Some of these meetings they don't attend. They sit from the fence and they try to create problems. All right. And that is not going to stop us as a country. That is not going to stop us as a government. We are going to make sure the Sierra Leonean people deserve better. We are going to make sure we have a free and fair and transparent elections in that. Okay. President Bion made that commitment to the President of the United States, and he has been affirming that in all consultations he has been doing. All right. So thank you very much. They're sitting down having their own issues. None of our business. What we are focusing on here is to make sure the elections are transparent, and we have international bodies who are supporting this election. All right. They are very, very well pleased with how transparent the process is. Thank you very much, Mike. Quickly, Ahmed, in 10 seconds, we're running out of your message and say goodbye.
I am just saying that what my colleague is saying is completely far from the reality, and that is a distortion of the reality, the facts. Okay. Now, you're saying that we do not attend meetings. We've been fully participating in the process. We're saying that we will not go to an election where the accuracy of the register is in question. We will not go to an election whereby our rights under the law, the Constitution, the Public Elections Act says, Section 27, Subsection 2 says, you have to exhibit the register for 14 days. That is why I'm so precise on my citation. You can go back and check. How on earth you just exhibit the register for 4 days and you say that is those are the dictates of free and fair elections? All right. It says you have to show the place of inquiry post-registration, post-exhibition. Inquiry is the time set out for all appellants, people who have been rejected because of eligibility. They have the right to come and appeal, but the place must be shown to them. Nothing was communicated to them. And now you're saying we should sit down and relax. So I'm just saying, Ahmed, you have to move on.
Like I said, we're running out of time. Mike, I'll give you 10 seconds again. So Ahmed exceed the time. Quickly, we are running out of time. Mike, what's your final word and say goodbye?
All what I'm telling Sierra Leoneans here is that our president is committed to free and fair elections. He made this very clear. He stated a date, 1 year elections in Sierra Leone. That has never happened in Sierra Leone. That is one way to show that he's committed to free and fair elections. I don't want Sierra Leoneans to listen to APC. APC is APC. They are doing everything possible. We already know them. What is the 99 tactics? Everything possible to discredit these elections. And Sierra Leone, we have made tremendous gains when it comes to democracy, rule of law, fight against corruption, civil liberties. These are the credentials.
Well, show us the money. Show us the MCC money.
No, I am talking.
Show us the MCC money.
So I just want to
show us the MCC money.
I just want to reiterate to Sierra Leoneans that Sierra Leone is a peaceful country. We have a president who leads from the heart, who is determined to make sure Sierra Leone, come 2023, we have a free and fair elections. Let's be very, very wary about APC misinformation. They are out there to mislead the people, and they are out there to make sure they discredit whatever electoral decision or process since we are going to come 2023. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike. And it's been wonderful. Many thanks out there to viewers and listeners all over the world. This is AYV on Sunday, Sierra Leone Decides. I am Mama Jajala, broadcasting live from UK, AYV International Studios. I'd like to say thanks to our guys out there, Muzi, Bontin, Remy, and the rest of the crowd there. And to our man out right here in the UK, that's the COO, Mr. Leon, and for the wonderful job. It's been a wonderful program. I want to say thanks to each and everyone out there. Till we meet again, have a good time. God bless you. God be with you. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.